Welcome to If the Walls Could Talk, a series of conversations about smart buildings, connecting key thinkers in the property industry with each other and with you. I'm Jules Barker, Global Director of Product at WiredScore, the certification company dedicated to making the world's buildings smarter and better connected. In this series, we're bringing together experts in the industry to discuss topics like planning a smart building, choosing the right technology, how to be user-first at design stage, and how to reduce the environmental impact of smart buildings. And it's sustainability we're talking about today with my guest, Jeff Vittorio, Vice President of Property Management at Columbia Property Trust. Jeff, welcome. I wonder if perhaps you could start with just giving us a bit of an overview of what your role is at Columbia.
Sure. I'm the Vice President of Property Management. We have assets and management teams, like you said, located in gateway cities in New York City, San Francisco, Washington, D.C., and Boston. And we own and operate and develop office space for many exceptional and groundbreaking companies throughout the U.S. Our management team is constantly collaborating with our investment, leasing, and development divisions to deliver best-in-class assets.
We're talking about sustainability today. One of the things that I always find a little confusing is that there are two terms we talk about. We talk about sustainability and we talk about ESG. What's your read for yourself and Columbia about what the difference is between them?
Sustainability is very focused on energy output, monitoring of greenhouse gases, reducing our carbon footprint. So we're constantly monitoring data, measuring it, and managing it to make sure that our buildings are optimally running efficiently. We also do procurement of utility services, and we're watching the markets and brokering contracts to do the best deals that work best for our assets. As far as ESG, we feel that that's more focused on the employees, the tenant base, the community, and we like to, think of ESG as creating a comfortable work environment, emphasizing safety and adding features and technology to ensure an experience that everyone can thrive in. And we also seek opportunities to serve our community and pursue diversity in our business relationships.
That's a pretty broad coverage. What role do ESG and sustainability play at Columbia?
Our sustainability concentrates on, LEED and FitWell Energy Star achievements by constantly monitoring and tracking our utility data. We have a team of ops managers responsible for reporting that data regularly. Columbia utilizes a number of different platforms to track and monitor the data and report the use. Additionally, we're committed to pursuing a comprehensive approach to health and wellness at our buildings and to providing our tenants and their employees reassurance that their buildings are capable of providing safe and supporting work environments. Therefore, we are pursuing third-party recognition for our entire operating portfolio under the industry-leading benchmarking programs. And furthermore, we use indoor air quality monitoring, environmental policies to adhere to our property operations. As far as our ESG, Columbia has created a committee for diversity, equity, and inclusion. We've established working groups with specific emphasis on education and awareness, community outreach, opportunity for our hiring practices and existing employee advancement, and also a responsibility committee, which focuses on tenants, investors, and vendors. We've implemented a comprehensive supplier diversity program at Columbia, which will be able to attract and cultivate relationships with suppliers from diverse backgrounds, ensuring that they are included in our sourcing and procurement process, and that we can measure and report on our progress towards specific goals.
One of the things I thought was, I picked out from what you just talked about was suppliers and tenants. How do you think over the last couple of years through the pandemic that their expectations have changed around sustainability or ESG?
We have reimagined our approach to tenant service from the ground up across our portfolio and are aiming towards creating a much more hospitality-inspired tenant experience for the companies who choose Columbia to provide for their workplace. Our approach is designed to ensure our building occupants feel like guests from the moment they walk in the door and throughout every point of their interaction with the office environment. We've got team members at every property dedicated to cultivating strong relationships with our tenant companies and providing them with a familiar face who can promptly manage their needs. We like to strive to provide a mix of service programs and amenities that foster a thriving, connected community at each property.
And how much do you work with your tenants in terms of sharing data backwards and forwards to meet their needs?
It's critical to communicate with the tenants in every way to reduce the energy because they make up a large load of that utility output. So we collaborate with them on our customer service plans, on our utility tracking plans, educate them to make sure that they are aware that their portion of utility output is directly impacting not only the scoring of the building, but the city that they're in, the community, and the planet as a whole. So again, we intensify the tenant-facing program that we have with them, so we're getting in front of them, providing a more welcoming experience at the front door, and enhancing our package of service amenity offerings that support Columbia's full service office initiative and overall property environment.
Columbia's a developer as well, isn't it? So when you're working with your tenants in the way you just said to collectively reduce the in-use carbon emissions of a building, how do you at Columbia link that through the whole life cycle, the embodied carbon and the in-use carbon? Is that something you monitor?
Our development team also follows best practices for LEED and for the design achievements. So the products that are put in place to design the building are definitely thought through carefully by that team, purchased. And in fact, in a particular building in Washington, D.C., we in fact did install a timber addition to an already existing steel building. Starting with development, leading all the way through life cycle of the building in terms of our ownership, all aspects of sustainability are thought through.
Thinking generally about the kind of interventions you can make, Jeff, in terms of small changes that have a really big impact, what do you think are the interventions or the investments you've made over the last few years that have had the biggest impact on your sustainability and your ESG outcomes?
The pandemic played a role in that, trying to install a lot more touchless features in restrooms, touchless access to the elevators, destination elevators. We've installed bipolar ionization in our air handling units in our elevator cabs to process the air contaminants much more effectively than they were with the original design of the building. Our energy management systems are tracking real-time usage. They're creating profiles that can be monitored, alert the engineers, and we can act on it if consumption falls out of line. We also do real-time indoor air quality monitoring, and during our design and construction, advancement in curtain wall installation.
What tips, what advice do you have, or what asks do you have of the industry as a whole to drive to better ESG outcomes?
Every real estate company has their own investment plan, so it's follow that investment plan, navigate through legislation, enter into contracts with outfits designed to guide you through the sustainable practices, and create a working environment that believes in environmental, social, and governance practices. That's something that Columbia really truly turned the corner on in the last several years, that we wanted to be best in class for those practices and be an industry leader in sustainability and ESG.
Somehow, Jeff, you make that sound easy, and I'm not sure it is. What are you finding difficult as a company, and maybe where do you need help from elsewhere?
Well, certainly legislation in all the cities is different, challenging to navigate through, and to find our way to achieve the different local laws in New York City or in San Francisco. There are certain requirements. You're constantly working with a lot of different service providers, and in order to achieve your goals and to track all that requires a team of people within Columbia that I'm a part of, and I can tell you that the team that I work for is exceptional, and they take it very seriously, and I think the entire company has truly bought into our desire to, again, be a world-class leader in sustainability.
If you had a magic wand, Jeff, and you could wave it and change one fundamental thing about the way we build and operate buildings, what would that be?
Well, certainly, the world's desire is to limit fossil fuel usage. So, to create a power structure that's going to support climate change is something that I wish was a little easier. Achieving renewable energy credits is one aspect of doing it, but I think that they're still at the very beginning stages of all that.
It seems to me there's a few ways that technology can can lean into helping with the climate crisis that we're facing. There's about monitoring and understanding what's going on, but there's also about affecting change in the building and making it run more efficiently day to day. Which of those two do you think is the more important thing, or are they impossible to separate?
I think they are impossible to separate. No matter what systems you put in place, it needs to be tracked and monitored. But then you need everybody that's in the building to sort of, be part of that plan. Tenants need to, respect the desire of trying to, be an energy efficient building. And without we could put all the different measures in place, but without the tenants buying into the overall desire to lower our energy consumption, we're not going to achieve the results that we would like.
Jeff, when it comes to retrofitting, there's often a decision you need to make, which is you're going to use a whole load of energy replacing an HVAC system or a lighting system, and the payback in energy terms is that you've got a more efficient system. But often there's a question to ask: is it worth doing it, or are you going to use more energy in the retrofit than you'll save in the operations? How do you think about that?
Well, we do analysis for that. So a capital project outlay may in fact cost a lot of money, but over the period of your hold, will the offset in energy savings occur? We constantly are looking at our utility companies for incentives, because they offer plenty of incentives to do capital projects, new mechanical machines for HVAC, lighting retrofits. So you try to subscribe to those incentives, and that can help with your cost savings. There is a balance between the amount of money you're going to put out for a capital project on an improvement and the savings that takes place, because first and foremost, there is an investment here in the real estate, and you need to make sure that you don't go off the rails on that investment plan.
That's really interesting. Thank you, Jeff. And thank you very much for joining me today. I think that's probably about all we've got time for. The big thing I'll take away from this conversation, I think, Jeff, is how simple you made it seem to get this right. Have a strategy and stick to it. And I think that's pretty good advice for anyone. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you very much for watching, and you can find more videos on our YouTube channel. Thanks and goodbye.